Have you seen this? This is disgusting.
What happened?
Orion, this is disgusting.
What's disgusting? Tell me what that's all about.
Why are people smearing poop on cars, on Teslas?
What?
This is
Smearing poop?
Yeah.
Well, the one I heard was about people like burning them.
Teslas? Yeah. Burning.
Teslas.
There's a video here of a guy reaching into his pants and
What?
smearing
I haven't
poop
seen
on
that
it.
at all. So, I mean,
Okay, we have to watch
so what's
it.
going on? So there's
We
this-
have to watch it. This is disgusting. What is going on in the US? Why are there people like this?
it's a form of terrorism. I mean, I think, okay, so
Oh, you
obviously-
consider that terrorist? Well,
I mean, it's a form of
it is.
terrorism,
It is.
right?
It
a
is.
form of
It is.
terrorism.
Like if
Think
I
about
wake
it.
up in the morning and I'm so late for work and then I see poop smeared all over my car.
It is a
I'm
form of
sorry,
terrorism.
but it's poop.
I mean, obviously the arson bit, when people
Yeah.
are actually burning cars, that
Yeah.
is
Oh.
real. That's real downright.
Domestic terrorism.
terrorism, right?
Yeah.
But then it's semi or quasi terrorism when people put poop. That's I mean, that's terrible. It's disgusting,
that's
right?
crazy.
It's
Oh my
real, but
gosh.
this is the weird thing, because obviously whoever is doing this, they're doing this because they hate Musk. They hate Musk, and by extension, they hate Trump. I mean, they're probably people
Okay,
who
How did America get here?
Well, there's been this. Okay, so I'd say for so many years, right? There was
Okay.
this establishment. Establishment on both sides actually. Democrats and Republicans. I mean, being warmongering and stuff like that. And now there's a guy who was originally actually Democrat who became Republican. We're talking about Trump, who's now actually taking on a more, I'd say, a different stance from what the establishment wants, right?
You want to see the video?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
See the video? Look at that! Like he's really reaching deep into his
What the?
hole.
Oh my God! Did this guy bring toilet paper?
No,
Not at all?
he's using his hands.
So he pooped into his underwear? Huh? What a weirdo!
Looks like that's what happened. I don't know. This is disgusting. Okay. This is not just, this is disturbing. You have to have like deep anger for you to do something like this.
This is the worst.
And
No, totally,
you
totally.
say that, okay, for you, this is because of Trump.
It looks like it's a manifestation of hatred
TDS.
towards Trump, right? So they hate Trump, and by extension they hate Musk, or they hate Musk because he's a Trump guy, right? Or he's allied to Trump. So Tesla being the company, a company of Musk, they're sort of trying to sabotage this, right? I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
I don't know. I think they just hate Trump now. They just hate Musk now. However, I want to look at this. They really just hate Musk now because of Trump, no?
They hate him, but then the problem is what they're doing is not affecting Musk per se, or even Trump. It's affecting ordinary, innocent people who happen to own these vehicles, some of whom might actually be people who are aligned with them politically.
Do you think okay, let's get into this deeper, no? Do you think it's possible that this comes from the Doge?
What do you mean?
Backlash.
Oh, you mean so because these are people who don't like what Musk is doing in
But
Doge
isn't
and all
that good
that?
for America though?
I'd say it is, because the whole point of what Musk is doing with Doge is to make America much more efficient, right? I mean,
Yeah.
take off the stuff that we don't need at the moment. Like if there's any redundancies and there's maybe the states can do better than the federal side or something, it's basically, well, we'll cut off this part because this is not that relevant anymore. This one's more relevant, so let's keep that, and let's lessen this. So it's all about being efficient, right? Cost effective.
I do not understand how they got here. Like, what is the anger really about for them to go against this thing that is actually doing you good? If you are a taxpayer, it doesn't matter where you stand, right or left. It doesn't matter. You will benefit from this.
There are many people who are so I use the term ideologically charged. So they care more about their ideology rather than, I don't say ideology, say ideology, because they would rather go with what their ideology stands for rather than
Yeah.
what makes sense. So even if something makes sense, but they don't go for that because that's not part of their ideology, they'll go against that thing that makes sense because it goes against what they firmly believe in.
I'm sorry, this is really bothering me. So I have to look into how this started. Do you think, okay, while I'm waiting for this to load, do you think this is something organic? Or is this something that people were kind of conditioned to do?
To be honest, I don't have enough information, so
No,
obviously-
just because we're not in America.
Yeah,
You
we're
know,
not
we
in
don't know
America. We
everything
don't
that's
know.
happening there. But
'Cause,
do you
I mean,
think this is organic, or are people
we-
conditioned to get here? Like, I think the Black Lives Matter movement was not as organic as we thought it was.
Copy that. Here we go. All right, this is getting serious. Oh my goodness.
Because, in hindsight, looking at everything, people were conditioned to the anger and the destroying everything. It was all kind of somehow designed.
Well, if you think about it, because it's happening kind of like all at the same time, right? It might be something that is orchestrated. I don't know.
It is. Like, who would have this much hatred for Teslas? Like, I would never buy myself a Tesla. I like driving. I actually enjoy that, and it's so expensive. But the point is, this is an American brand, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah,
It's an
and it's
American brand.
employing a lot of people. And if you are pro environment, isn't this what you're advocating for before?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed
The
to
push
be, right?
for the
Yeah.
electric cars. Now you have it and you're destroying
And now they're
it.
going against it. They're actually, so what I can see happening is you got these people who are torching and basically sabotaging these Teslas so that people will stop using Teslas, stop buying Teslas, probably get rid of their Tesla, sell it, so that they can use something which will not get burned or sabotaged. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're basically trying to make it hard for people who own Teslas to continue owning them, right? I mean, and
So
in a
this
way,
is like part of the how people are always calling for, let's boycott this, let's
Yeah, it's
boycott
kind of
that,
like
but
that. That's what it
elevate
is.
it into terroristic
yeah,
level.
it's like that. That's what it looks like to me, at least.
I'm looking actually for a post that said, like, people are not talking, like, people are just talking about people burning it, blah, 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 blah. But no one's talking about, like, at least 4 cases. And I cannot independently check this out now. They said that they're part of the, I don't want to say, they're mentally unstable. Let's just say mentally
They probably are. That
unstable.
that guy in the video that you showed, that guy is clearly crazy. That guy is crazy. I mean, like, why didn't he more rationally sort of do his thing, do his business in a toilet somewhere, right? And then put it in plastic, and then But why did he sort of like
Something
poop
happened
there?
2 years ago as well. 2
Okay.
years ago, people are already doing that. Okay. I think, America really has a mental health crisis problem that
Yeah,
they have to address. And politicians have to recognize that they have a role in this, unless, of course, that's really what they want to do. And I feel bad for the people who are conditioned or pushed to extremes like this, to doing extreme things like this, because it's look, you're gonna lose your job. You're gonna be all
Yeah.
over the internet, and you do something that will be with you forever.
I don't know. There's I think that's an outgrowth of also a bit of the over individualism that goes on there. If it's uncontrolled, I mean, because you need to have rules, right, to keep people
Yeah.
in check. And then if there's too much of that individualism, and then there's not that much of an emphasis on following rules, so that you don't hurt other people while you are pursuing your own individualism. I think that's where this kind of thing happens. Oh, I'm actually expressing myself. That's what these guys are going to say. They're basically going to say, hey, I just don't like them, so I'm expressing my hatred for Musk or for Trump, because Musk is a guy of Trump. So essentially, hurting one is hurting the other, and I just want to express that. That's probably what they're going to say,
But at the end of the day, you're just hurting someone who's on your
some
level.
yeah, I know, some ordinary innocent person. I mean, look.
Yeah, and this will not hurt Musk.
I know it doesn't. It doesn't hurt Musk. It hurts ordinary people.
Yeah.
Some of whom might actually be on the same political spectrum as you.
You
So
just
those-
see a Tesla, you burn it, you smear whatever disgusting thing on it.
Look. There's a lot of Teslas in California,
Yes.
Ooh. And so I was there last year, and look, I was on the freeways, and then I saw Teslas everywhere in California. That's a blue state.
Yeah.
It's a Democrat state. I mean, it's run by Democrats everywhere, right? So my point is, I'm very, very sure that a lot of those Teslas are owned by pro-Democrat people.
Yeah. So why would people do this? And whatever with what they're doing, you know what's happening? People are actually buying more Teslas.
Oh my
The
God,
rich
really?
ones,
Okay,
especially those who have been part of the campaign or funding the campaign of Trump, they're actually buying more Teslas.
Buying more
They
Teslas,
can
okay.
afford it. They will do it.
Oh my gosh.
This is
yeah.
really sad, no, because I'm sorry, but Musk has done so much for America and for the world. I'm not a fan of him personally. Like, there are things that I do not agree with. Say having a lot of children with different women, and his history. But he has done so much good for
Yeah,
humankind, all things considered, for me. And he has empowered a lot of communities with Starlink.
Oh yeah,
A
totally,
lot of communities
totally.
that do not have access to internet, especially where was this huge storm in the US, and then this was right
I forgot
before
the
the
name.
election, and there were a lot of communities that did not have internet, did not have means to reach their families. Starlink or Musk sent Starlink there to get them connected and get their lives going, and to have businesses up again. And then the recent one, the two astronauts that he
The
brought
SpaceX
back to
one.
Earth.
Yeah. Well, actually, even before that, there's other stuff like the Tesla homes.
The Tesla homes.
So those are really inexpensive homes that
Mm-hmm.
are modular, right? Those are out of the box. You can actually have a home, and then if I'm not mistaken, these actually are equipped. I think the better versions of them have solar, and they have all these things that can make you actually autonomous. Like, basically, you don't have to get on a public utility grid or something like that. You can basically live by yourself wherever that is that you put the home, because you've got some way of processing the water and also solar energy. So, all these kinds of stuff, these are really good for everyone, for ordinary people, because they're not expensive.
And this is why I hate the liberal media in the US. Because if you watch, CNN, MSNBC, all of those liberals, they would talk about Musk in like, they frame him to be this guy who's a joke, who's opportunistic, who's just showing off or something like that. Like, he doesn't care about America, he doesn't care about everything. He just wants to be in that position to limit the Americans, and he's not even American or these narratives, just because they hate the guy, because he did so much to swing a lot of people to vote red during the election last year.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy.
Yeah. No, it's really weird. I mean, I think American politics has gone a little weird because if you really think about it, Trump and Musk are not traditional Republicans.
They're not.
They
They're
were
not
originally-
even traditional politicians.
Yeah,
in
they're
that
not.
sense.
So they're, if I'm not mistaken, they would
Musk
actually.
is not a politician.
He's not a
at all.
politician
But
at all.
Yeah.
But even they're both businessmen. That's
Yeah.
what they are. But they're also, I think, they're more what you would call centrist in the sense. So there are good things that the right is doing. Oh, this sounds good. Okay, let's go with that one. And then there's some certain things that sound good with what the left is doing. Okay, let's go with that. So that's where they go, right?
But in America, you have to be either Republican.
I know
or Democrat.
that's the problem with the way their system works because they have this so-called two-party system, right? Or rather, two major party system where you
Because
really
you can
cannot
run as
go.
an independent.
You can't really run as an independent. If you try, it's going to be really hard. And that's because of the Electoral College.
Oh,
See?
right.
So the Electoral College, the way it works, it's actually like a quasi-parliamentary system. It's kind of like that. So that is actually the feature of the American presidential system that makes America perform a little better than most countries that use presidential systems. Okay, so
Okay.
around the world there are a lot of presidential systems, and
You're the person to talk
suck.
about this.
They totally suck. Latin America, the Philippines, a lot of countries in Africa, they suck. And then the countries that are using parliamentary systems, they do a lot better. Now, the American system, for all intents and purposes, is actually a kind of hybrid because although it is considered a presidential system, under the hood, there is a quasi-parliamentary mechanism in place, which is their electoral college.
Yeah.
You see, so how does a person become a prime minister in a parliamentary system? Basically, you have to vote based on parties for the people in your district.
In your district.
Right? You vote for that person, and then if other people vote for all the other people from that same party he's from, then the leader of that party
Will
wins.
be the one
That's
to
the
win,
guy who becomes the prime minister, right? And that's the same thing, kind of like the same thing with how the presidential system of the U.S. works.
Yeah.
they have-
so it's a mix.
It's a mix. They have the electoral college. You're not really voting for Trump or Harris. You're basically voting for the electors in your state who are from the party that
Yes.
you're choosing. So you said, oh, if it's Trump and Vance, you're basically choosing the Republican electors.
Yeah.
And so that's how it works. So it is a quasi-parliamentary system, and it keeps it a bit more stable. It forces America to end up having a two-party system.
Which contributes to
A better stability, actually.
I would say stability.
A bit more
But
stability.
because there's only two choices,
Yeah.
then you're gonna have to really embrace this, really embrace the other side.
Yes,
Which
yes.
is wrong. Which is wrong.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that's why we consider Trump to be a glitch to all of that.
Yes.
Because he's neither. He's like, you're right. He's a centrist, but he just had to have a party.
Here's something that I don't know if you'll agree, but then actually this is from the history of how politics actually works. So you're going to see a lot of countries where they have like a conservative party, and they have like
liberal.
a so-called labor,
Progress- labor, like in
or
the
a
UK.
socialist party. And then in the center, it's a liberal party. So actually, liberals are supposed to be centrists.
But
They're supposed to be.
they haven't acted like
No.
one in
the
many
States.
years.
In the States. So there are these countries, like for example, in Australia, for example, so they used to have like a conservative party on the right. This is my right. So conservative party here. So for whoever is watching, I don't know. Conservative party here. In the center, it was a liberal party, which was in the center. And then there was a Labor Party at the left. Okay. And so, but because of the way the system works, if you are a third party, you don't really get that much, etc. It's a waste of votes. The weak party ends up getting absorbed or falling on the wayside. So it ends up becoming two parties only. So in Australia, it was the conservatives who kind of fell on the wayside, and it became liberal versus liberal is their right. In Australia, the Liberal Party in Australia is actually their right, and then the Labour Party in Australia is their left. Whereas in Canada, they used to have conservative, liberal, and also another like labor socialist type of thing. And then it was the labor socialist guys who kind of fell on the wayside, and it became conservative versus liberal.
Yeah, but
That's what happened to them.
but going back to the US, I think the problem with the two-state system now is that it's
two-party
just,
system.
the two-party system now is that it's just so easy to make the other hate the other.
I know.
Or make
I know.
one hate the other.
It's
like
very polarized.
Extremely divide people in that way. And so now we have people who are just hating so much and doing disgusting things.
So this is why I know everybody says that I always end up sort of bringing this in, but then this is the time where it has to be mentioned. That's why there have been a lot of political scientists in the States, and even other private public intellectuals, saying that we think that it would have been better if the U.S. actually shifted over to a parliamentary system,
a real parliamentary system, like a full parliamentary
full
system.
parliamentary system. So they're saying, at least if we had that system in place, we won't need to be stuck with just two parties, right? So you can have like a full libertarian party.
Yeah.
Then you can have the so-called establishment Republican Party. You can have a real liberal centrist party. Then you can have maybe a so-called socialist left-leaning party. And you can even have a communist party. But you guys all have to fight it out inside the parliament.
Oh yeah,
right?
That's why we see them like throwing stuff at each other.
Okay. So those
their
countries,
tables.
the countries where you see that, by the way, they're not countries that use parliamentary systems.
Oh, they're not.
They're not. Those are countries that use semi-presidential systems.
Oh.
So those kinds of things that happen, like for example, that's in South Korea or in
There's a
Taiwan.
lot actually. There's actually a lot. Yeah.
South Korea and Taiwan, those kinds of places, that's where it usually happens. For some weird reason, it doesn't really happen in real presidential parliamentary systems. Like in the UK, for example, or even Australia, or Canada, or New Zealand, or Singapore, Malaysia, India, that hasn't happened. For some reason, I don't know why they're able to push things through. Maybe that's what happens. I'm not sure, but when people say, "Oh, the fighting happens in parliamentary systems," I'm just saying, actually, it's not. It's in semi-presidential systems where it happens.
Well, you're the one to talk about that, but all I'm seeing online are people just hating on someone who's actually doing good, and but I feel bad for Musk, but not in the sense that this is gonna hit him. It's just that we are at least they are in this society where these things can happen. And this story, or whatever this is, it's actually overshadowing what he did, bringing back two astronauts who were stuck in space for 9 whole months. And they did not have to be there for that long.
They didn't. I know. It's really weird, right? So when we're talking about the SpaceX guys doing the right thing, right? It's so sad because the only reason why it took so long was because of politics. Because it was not a technical thing.
That's why they were getting food. They were getting a replenishment of their stock there, or the stuff that they need to survive.
Yeah. So here's what I understand, right? It was essentially, I think what happened here is the Biden administration, I think, was very much beholden to Boeing, or the people who own Boeing are also the same people who I think contributed greatly to his campaign. So he could not be seen
as someone
endorsing.
favoring
He could
Musk?
not. He could not be seen saying yes to the offer of SpaceX, because basically
to bring the astronauts back.
Exactly. So you know what happened, right? So many months ago, what happened was they had the Boeing Starliner
Yeah.
Right? The Boeing Starliner. Now, we all know what's been going on with Boeing. Boeing has been having a lot of technical issues.
Technical issues
Really
that
major
we can trace back to DEI.
DEI,
Okay,
exactly,
go ahead.
exactly. No, it's a lot of that. And then also a lot of cost cutting.
A horrific culmination of a series of faulty technical assumptions by Boeing's engineers, a lack of transparency on the part of Boeing's management, and grossly insufficient oversight by the FAA.
I think a lot of it has to do with once a company becomes more interested in just the bottom line, and like, for example, when the investors and the board and all these people are no longer engineer types, but more like finance people, right? They don't care about the technical specifications. They'll go, let's go for the cheapest thing here that's available so that we have a better set of margins, right?
And care about the policies of DEI and being compliant of what the liberal crowd want us to do.
Yeah, because they're part of that, right? They're also the same people who are funding these politicians on that side, right? So they're going with that same narrative, and then it becomes disastrous in terms of actually coming up with real good products. I mean, look at what's been happening. We're seeing all these airplane crashes with Boeings, right?
Last year, it was, I think, record number.
A lot of those. And then there's a lot of stuff about the problems with the maintenance and stuff like that, right? So once they start going into actual space, I mean, the same problems. I mean, obviously the same organizational structure, I guess the same management environment that they have there also seeps into the aerospace, the making spaceships department of Boeing. So the Starliner wasn't a very good product.
So these two people who, if you look at them individually, they have their own lives, they have their families, they had plans after, the...
Supposed to be 8 days only.
Just 8 days, yeah.
8 days.
They had plans after that, special occasions that they would want to be present. And they were stuck in space for how long?
9 months.
9 months.
A little over 9 months.
Because of politics?
Because of politics. Because of a decision that was not done the engineering STEM way. So I'm kind of big on this because I come from a STEM background. I'm from an IT background, right? So I usually criticize a lot of people who are just way too ideological, right? Or what I'd say, they're too partisan, right? They don't care about which one is the more technically superior solution. They're just going to go with, well, this is what our friends want, so we'll go with our friends, right? What about
this is really sad because everywhere we go, we can actually look at our country as well. A lot of people are being collateral damage because of politics. And I don't want to get into the details now, but I'm just saying it's sad when our leaders are so willing to have their people that they're supposed to be representing as collateral damage in this political drama. And, how do we reverse that?
We have to change the environment, and that means having to change the overall system that we have.
It's so hard because
there's
if I look at it, it's so overwhelming because when you say change the environment, you do not just change the political system, you have to change the media as well. You have to change the people who are in these. Is there hope? Do you see hope?
There is hope. I know it can be done.